Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our tutorial series for Elvenar tournaments, and this time it is, well, time for a marble tournament. That's what we're going to be doing today. As already mentioned before, these videos are for the current version of the tournaments, which has been with us for quite a while, not the proposed changes that are currently piloted on beta. So there's that, but who knows how long it's going to be with us, so that might still be useful. Now, and again, as I mentioned before, the general setup of this video is I do two parts. The first part I'm doing provinces 1 to 20 in 2 stars stage of the tournament. And that's where we have the most of the meat, so to speak. There are different matchups. We can see how they behave, what they are, what the losses are, and what are the lineups that I use against them. And the second part is more supplementary, so also 2-star provinces, but provinces 21 to 30. And I make cutoffs every 10 provinces, so after province, well, 20, 30, 40, and 50, so we can see what the overall losses are. And just generally just to see more of the same matchups, because even for the same matchups, the same boost, and the same lineup that you field against them, you will have different outcomes and sometimes quite different. So you may see more of what can be. Sometimes it's from 15 to 35% losses. That's a pretty wide range. So yeah, so you may want to see that. So again, as I mentioned before, that is a chapter 16 city with elves, and it's the end of the tech tree. So we have everything unlocked. All units available, no shortages, we're not going to cater anything, so it's pure fighting. It's important to understand that it's not going to be applicable for everything and everyone, because fighting is highly situational, depending where in the development tree you are, and what the boosts are. And in this particular case, I have what do we have for the Martial Monastery? Level 26, I believe, right now. So I have been upgrading a few levels here and there for my Martial Monastery. That means that's an extra 27% of the health permanently. Very convenient, very useful. I have 5 other damage boosting Ancient Wonders as well. They're all between levels 18 and 12. So that's 17 to 18 extra damage boost for each unit type. And I have the Fire Phoenix evolution level 10, which is fed right now. And I have also temporary boosts, as in booster buildings, which in this particular case are 1 Unleashed unit upgrade, that's extra 25% health boost, very good. 1 Enlightened Light Range, so that's extra 50% damage boost for light range units. And I have 2 Magnificent Mage multipliers, so that means that's a grand total of plus 100% damage boost for mages. Yeah, and as I said, the Fire Phoenix at level 10 fed, that's an extra 50% damage boost for everything. So fairly strong boost lineup. Outside of the health boost, which is not maximum, we're going to be using a lot of mages in this tournament, so we're going to make good use of the 2 MMMs. So that's that. I think that's all the intro. So let's jump into our provinces in the marble tournament. All right. So basically what we're going to see in this tournament in terms of our opponents is we're going to see a lot of heavy melee. We're actually going to see a lot of heavy units in general, more so heavy melee, but also quite a few heavy range units. And as well, we're going to see some light range against us. So that means on our side, we have a reasonably varied lineups. But the two primary units that we're not going to be using in this tournament are Blossom Princesses from the Mercenary Camp. That's our probably number one unit. And number two unit would be our Poison Dryad, which is a light range unit. We're also going to be using a little bit of Banshees, not a whole lot, a bit of the Golems, also not that much, and oh yeah, and of course we're going to use our third mage unit, which is Bud Sorcerers in this case, which is not particularly good. It's not better, but some of them are effectively free, so I need to use them somewhere, and that would be the opportunity to do so. Alright, so let's jump in. Again, the first 9 provinces do not have the same matchups as the rest, so we're not going to be dwelling too much on that. Okay, so I think this is one of the repeatable matchups. So here you see we have 2 heavy melee and 1 light range unit. So general rule of thumb here, I can use the Blossom Princesses here. Blossom Princess would be excellent against anything heavy melee. So they are specialist against them. They see they have plus 90 damage, minus 70% damage reduction. That's very good. But actually our Poison Dryads, in a way, are even better against pure heavy melee. Look at that, plus 90, the same one, and they have 80% damage reduction, which is even better. And these are ranged and high initiative units, so against pure heavy melee, that's going to be my unit of choice. However, most of the time we won't be fighting against pure heavy melee, so and that's when it becomes, well, it depends. So in this case, the rule of thumb is if we only have heavy melee and a little bit of light range, then I will be going with Poison Dryads. The reason being is both units are excellent against heavy melee, but against light range, well, light range is obviously better than light range against Blossom Princesses, especially considering, as you can see, these are Mistwalkers and they are specialists against mages. So again, this is obviously like just 1-star unit, but at 3 stars, yeah, look at those bonuses. Even if you Mistwalkers against your mages, they can make some damage. I mean, we can still do okay, but light range versus light range in this case is better. So again, rule of thumb, only heavy melee and light range, we're going with Poison Dryads. And not surprisingly, it did alright. Alright, okay, that's also fairly common matchup. I don't know if exactly the same one, but as you can see, we have a lot of heavy units here. So 4 heavy melee, 2 heavy range, and 1 counter unit, which in this tournament, that's going to be our enemy's light range. So yeah, that's where we're gonna go with our primary unit, which is a Blossom Princess, which does very well against heavy melee. It does fairly well against light range as well. It's not a specialist, but you see again, it doesn't have a lot of damage increase, but it has excellent damage reduction against heavy range. And that's actually much more important here because we have a lot of damage boosting here. Remember, we have a Fire Phoenix plus 50, we have 17 or 18, I don't remember, from the Ancient Wanderer permanently, and we have 2 Mage multipliers, which is another 100%. That's a lot of damage boosting. but the damage reduction is very important. So basically against both of these heavy units, Blossom Princess will do very well, and having only one Mistwalker here won't be a problem. So that's going to be a very common setup, and as you can see, Blossom Princesses take almost no damage here. Again, this is early, so it's not particularly representative. Alright, so here is one of the very few matchups. Again, we're going to see something like that even later on. But basically, in the matchups, when I see exactly the same numbers of heavy range and heavy melee, I go with Bud Sorcerers. Not because they will do better against the opponents here than Banshees or Blossom Princesses, but because actually they will do okay, and I will need to use Bud Sorceresses somewhere, because I'm generating them for free from the Ancient Wonders. And that's kind of my rule of thumb here. That's where I use them. They do alright here. And they're free, effectively. So yeah, took a little bit of losses, but that's how it's gonna go. This is not a very common matchup, then we have equal numbers, so that's not gonna happen very often. That's much more common, then we have quite a bit more heavy melee than heavy range. And again, only one counter unit, so we go with Blossom Princesses. Alright, so first province is done. Okay, that's not the matchup that we're gonna see again in the same amounts, but the same rule that I already mentioned still applies here. We only see heavy melee and light range here, so we'll go with Poison Dryads. They have no counter units here. And as you can see, that worked really well. Okay, that's... I don't think we have exactly the same matchup later on, but we will have at least one matchup. Then we do have more heavy range than heavy melee, and a little bit of counter units, like one in this case. It's not very common, but it does happen. So in this case, we'll go with Banshees, because Banshees, generally speaking, are better against heavy range, as you can see. And look at that, plus 90, minus 80, that's excellent. Not too shabby again against heavy melee, especially in terms of the damage reduction, and we have plenty of damage boost, so they would do very well here. Yep, and all these losses are basically coming from this single light range unit of the opponents. Okay, that's a very easy matchup for any of our mages right now. But because more heavy melee, we'll go with Blossom Princesses, and you can see pretty much no losses. Alright, that's one of the very few matchups. I think we're actually going to have pretty much exactly the same lineup from 10th and onwards. Not excellent matchup, one of the worst matchups in this tournament, and that's where we go with the Golem. So for golems, we have two comparable units, the heavy range, two light range that golems are good against, not amazing, but pretty good, and one counter unit, which in this case is heavy melee, which is not specializing in heavy range in this case, and I mean heavy melee in general is not as amazing against ranged units. So golems in these situations will do quite alright. I mean, our other alternative is to go with mages. So they would be two units that they are strong against, but they will also be facing two light range units who are specializing in mages, and that's not going to be pretty. We can do light range, but again, like, we only have two comparables, one unit that they are strong against and two sort of counter units, so no. That's basically how we did this matchup, and yeah, so we took some losses, but not a whole lot. It's gonna do worse, but we're still gonna do alright. Alright. right, so okay, that's actually, I think that's one of the matchups that we will see later on with more light range than, sorry, heavy range and heavy melee, and again we're going with benches. Yep, so they did alright against two light range. So again, you see, we could go here with the bud sorcerers, but again, there is a light range here, so, and no heavy range, so we'll go with Poison Dread. Alright. Okay, yeah, that's, I think that's one of the matchups that doesn't repeat. So yeah, on this one I'll usually go with golems, so they have one comparable, three units that they're good against, and two kinda counter units. Yeah, which are kinda counter units, so we could have gone with the light range here as well. Again, don't need to worry about that, that's not gonna happen later on. Okay, this one is the easy one. Okay, we go but sorry, Blossom Princess, because no counter units, more heavy melee, and as you can see, pretty much no losses. Alright. So yeah, that's again not one of the matchups we're gonna repeat again. Yeah, as you can see, not amazing setup here. It doesn't really matter which we go with. In this case, I'll just go with the bud sorcerers, because the equal number of heavy units. And they're gonna take some pounding, well, later on, but who cares? These ones are not great. Yeah, this one is exactly the matchup that I kind of like to use bud sorcerers for. I mean, they do quite alright there, as you can see, and I still need to use them anyway. Okay, again, no heavy range here, so Poison Dread. And they did quite alright there. Okay, yeah, that's not one of the great matchups. So again, it's not going to repeat again. So here we will go with Poison Dread. The reason being that, yeah, I think I mentioned this before, I don't like 3 counter units or more, and pretty much everything else, yeah, see 3 counter units, for mages 3 counter units, for Poison Dreads we only have 2 counter units. Not amazing, but yeah, it will do alright. Because remember, for light range we also have a single damage booster out there, so our light range is doing quite alright there. Okay, yep, that's the matchup we have already seen. 2 light range, 2 heavy range, and 1 counter unit. That's for golems. But yeah, this one's not gonna be amazing. Alright, so that's a matchup that we're gonna see, not very often, but we'll see later on. Just a single stack of heavy melee units. And this one is really easy, we're gonna have almost no losses regardless. So you can go either with Blossom Princess, or you can go with Poison Dread. In this case I go with Poison Dread because I think I showed you already. They have slightly more damage reduction, or actually significantly more damage reduction if you look at the residuals. But more importantly, they're ranged units, so by the time the opponent's heavy melee get to them to make any damage, they might already be done, while the damage reduction and whatnot is good for the Blossom Princesses. In order to make the damage, they still need to get relatively close, so heavy melee can still impact them. But not so, yeah, you see 0 losses. Not so much for light range. Okay. Okay, that's actually the one of the encounters that we will see later on, which is also kind of tricky one. So you could ostensibly go with golems here because there are 2 comparables, 3 units that they're good against, and 2 sort of counter units. But look at these 2 counter units. So these are Valorians, which specialized against heavy ranged units. And again, these are just 2 stars. There will be 3 stars. So they're going to inflict some damage here. Now, alternatively, we can go, and that's what I tend to do in this matchup with the, again, Poison Dreads. So we only have two units that they are good against, but really good against, and 3 comparables. And they also have 2 counter units, but you see those 2 counter units, they are not specializing in light range in particular. And again, the Poison Dryads have high initiative, so they will shoot first. So overall, I find that, at least again with the boosts what I have on the stage where I'm at, this matchup works better with my light range. You see, we took some losses, but again, nothing to write home about. This tournament is not as lossy as some other ones, so yeah, this one again, just no heavy range, so here comes our Poison Dryad. Alright. Okay, so we'll probably go faster now. I think we've seen most of the... Okay, yeah, that's the Banshee. More heavy range than heavy melee. And we'll take a closer look again. Pure heavy melee, that's our Poison Dryad. Yeah, you see? Pretty much no losses. And we'll slow down a little bit once we get to province number 10. Yeah, that's the cannon fodder for Blood Sorcerers. Yep. Okay, so Blossom Princess, more heavy melee. No counter units, did very well. Okay, yeah, that's not one of the matchups we're gonna see again. Again, you could go with Blood Sorcerers, but you will be facing 2 Mistwalkers here. That's not great. Or, as I'm gonna be doing, go with Poison Dryad, who will have only 1 counter unit and not amazing at that exactly. And that's gonna do alright. Okay, that's again 2 heavy range, 2 light range, and 1 counter unit. That's for golems. And yeah, we're gonna take some losses there. Blossom Princesses, all heavies. Yep, nice, no losses. And okay, no heavy range, Poison Dryad. Alright. So, yep, we are almost done with the kind of filler provinces, 1 to 9. Okay, again, they have 3 and 3 heavies and only 1 counter unit, so we go with Blood Sorcerers here. And yep, some losses there. It's obviously going to get worse. Okay, that's for Blossom Princess, more heavy melee. And yep, is it no losses. Again, Blood Sorcerers. Yeah, that's quite a bit of losses there, but again, that's not by design, but yeah, I fully acknowledge that. If you have, for whatever reason, excess of, or don't produce Blood Sorceresses, yeah, just don't produce them for the sake of this tournament. Because if you have to produce something, produce either Banshees or Blossom Princesses. So here I'm just throwing away units that I get anyway, so might as well use them for something. Alright, so that's a Banshee matchup. What was Banshee matchup? Again, no heavy range. Poison Dryad. And mostly heavy melee, but Blossom Princess does really well here. Okay. Okay, that's actually another matchup that we will see later on. And there are several options here, but basically you either go with benches, but again, like while benches would do very well against heavy range, they would be facing two Mistwalkers who specialize against mages, have initiative and range, so you're gonna take some pounding there. I mean, you're gonna win, but losses would be a bit more than I like. On the other hand, here I'm generally go with golems. Well, there are only two units that they're good against, which is light range, and 4 units that they are only comparable with, so another heavy range. So overall, because they have no country units here, they will actually do quite alright. Yeah, as you can see, well, we've got whatever, less than 10% losses. That's quite acceptable. This is not a very common matchup, but it will happen. Yeah, alright, so we are done with provinces 1 to 9. And subsequent matchups basically gonna repeat for as long as you can go. So yep, more heavy melee, mostly heavies, so that's Blossom Princess. And that's the kind of losses what you can expect there. That's for Bud Sorcerers. Yeah, overall, if I wouldn't have Bud Sorceresses, I would go with Blossom Princesses for this comparable matchups when you have the same numbers of heavies of both types. Alright, and yep, that's the matchup that I was talking about. 2 light range, 2 heavy range, 1 counter unit, that's for golems. And yeah, not amazing, but again, in the grand scheme of things, that's still pretty low. Okay, mostly heavy melee, so Blossom Princess. Alright. So no heavy range, that's Poison Dryad. Okay, that's the matchup that I was talking about. I think that's probably the only one here for Banshees. We have 3 heavy range, 2 heavy melee, and 1 Mistwalker there. Where we go Banshees, and as you can see, that works quite well. And that's the matchup again I mentioned before. I go here for golems because of no counter units. So for heavy range to light range, I go golems. And that's the Blossom Princess. We should do really well here. Yep, just tiniest of losses. All right. But sorceresses as equal number of heavy types. Yeah, and you can see we're starting to take quite a bit of losses on bad sorceresses, and that's basically why they suck. They're not particularly good. I only use them because they're free. And Blossom Princess. Yep, that's good. As I said, like that's about 10% or less. That's quite representative at that stage. 2-star. Again, that's with no counter units, but sources do alright with all this boost. But again, you see, even then, they're kind of good against, pretty good against both. They have crap ton of boosts on both health and damage side, and they still lost 10% of the stack with no counter units whatsoever. Not a great unit at that stage of the game. Okay. So, Province 13. Okay, no heavy range. There goes our Poison Dryad. And yeah, you can see pretty much no losses in these matchups. Yep, that's our Banshee matchup. More heavy range. And golems with no heavy melee. And mostly heavy melee, that's Blossom Princesses. Yep, almost no losses. Okay. No heavy range, we go Poison Dreads. And yeah, you see, okay, so we do have some losses in these kinds of encounters because there are quite a few overall flight range units and they're comparable, so that's where these losses are coming from. Mostly heavy melee, Blossom Princess. And again, about 10% losses or so. 1 and 1 for heavies, that's Bard Sorcerers. And that wasn't too bad actually. Mostly heavy melee, Blossom Princess. And again, mostly heavy melee, Blossom Princess again. Two light range, 2 heavy range, and a counter unit, that's it for golems. Yeah, you can see we have quite a few losses, like 20, probably, about 20-ish percent. Yeah, that's kind of representative. No heavy range, we go light range, and that works really well. No counter units to mages, 1 and 1, that's our bad sorcerers. Still, yeah, slightly less than 10%, that's pretty good. Okay, yep, that's our one and only Banshee matchup left. More heavy range than heavy melee. And yeah, sometimes that's probably a terrain thing. Yeah, those losses are actually quite a bit bigger than I would normally see here. So here we're looking at about 20%. Probably terrain related because we're going mages versus range unit. That may happen. No heavy range, light range, and yeah, that looks much better. So Blossom Princess. Yeah, that's this 10%-ish or so. And that's the golem, one of the two, I think, golem matchups here. Yeah, that actually worked for it. Not always the case. Yeah, no heavy range. We're gonna do well here. Yeah, the only losses we sustain here is against the other heavy range. Sorry, light range. And again, benches go forward. And yeah, you see this time. See, that's why I was talking about variability of basically we have the same matchup, the same setup on our end. Everything looks the same, but because terrains are different, here we barely lost anything. So I mean, like what, 5? Not even 5%, probably like 3% or something. Well, the other time, just literally the last province or so, we lost about 20%. So that's the kind of differences you can see even for the same matchups. Yeah, not amazing. Okay, Blossom Princess. Oops. Alright, Province 18. Yeah, that's one of these relatively tricky matchups. So we go Poison Dreads here with 3 light range, 2 heavy melee, and to what is like heavy range. Not amazing matchup, no matter what we do here. Yeah, you can see that's what, 20, almost 30% loss. Again, that's probably higher than usual, but yeah, that's just not a great matchup in this tournament. Luckily, you don't see them very often. Yeah, that's much better and more common. Yep, another benchy matchup. Still the same one. Yeah, you see again, we barely lost here like what, 3-4% or something. No heavy range. Oh, light range. Yeah, that's kind of what you would see there, like 5% or so. Sometimes more, sometimes less. Okay, 2 more. So golem matchup. And yeah, that's slightly better than 20%. So 10 to 20% there is kind of normal. Okay, this one is pure heavy melee, great setup for us. So we're going with light range. And yep, no losses at all. That is representative. Again, well, we'll also go with light range in this matchup. I don't expect no losses here. Yeah, you see, that's more like it. That's about 20%. I think last time we lost more. What, 30% or so? That's more what you would normally expect here. 20% or so. And again, no counter units for light range. That's what we go with, and that works really well. And here comes the province number 20. So, no heavy range. That's the poison dreads. Worked fine. That's a Banshee matchup with more heavy range. That, yeah, you see that worked really well again. Slightly more than 3 or 4%. Well, maybe 5% here or so. 5-6, but nothing close to 20%, which we did have. That's the golems, not the greatest of matchups. Yeah, actually that worked really well. 10, 20, 12% or something. And here we go for the final Blossom Princess. And yeah, that worked really well. Alright, so here's our 20 provinces. So let's take a look how much did we lose here. So let's see. And all in all, we have lost only 20 squads here. That is pretty good. As I said, this is not the tournament with highest losses. I'm just trying to scroll back and see what did we have in other tournaments around here. So we had a slightly less than 30 in the last one, which was Elixir. Sorry, no, the last one what I played was in Gems. Was it? Yeah, Gems. I don't think I recorded it. So yeah, that was about slightly less than 30. The last one that I recorded was Dust, and that was almost the same, about 28. Before that, yeah, Elixir was lower than that, was at 18. So here we are kind of on the low end of the spectrum, at least so far, but that's kind of representative. That's not the hardest tournament, or at least with the boosts that I'm fielding here. That is a big, an important thing there. So that's that. I'll make a cut here as usual. You did see all the matchups that we are going to experience here in the marble tournament in provinces 10 and onwards. So if you liked it, subscribe, hit the like, leave the comment what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see more, and I will continue in a separate video provinces 21 to 50, as I said, primarily for you to see the breakdown of what are the different losses you can experience in those matchups, what's the range, as well as to see on the, well, every 10 provinces, how many losses every subsequent 10 is going to bring. Well, and you can balance it versus the rewards that you are potentially getting from there. So with that, I'll hopefully see you soon. See ya.